Welcome back to another daily walk. Well, I want to talk today to churches out there. I want to talk to churches about getting your digital assets together. What do I mean by this? Well, make sure if somebody's traveling to your town, they can find you and they know what time your service is and things like that, and maybe a little bit about what you believe. So let's talk a little bit about this in a few different ways. First, let's talk about what we don't mean. We don't mean building a church that is equivalent to your church TV or these massive mega churches with, millions and millions of dollars of budgets and things like that. We don't need that kind of stuff. But you do need to spend a little bit of money. You need to find somebody who knows how to manage a site, and even if they are within your congregation, make sure you're paying them a little bit of money. I mean, come on, the worker is worthy of his wages here. And I see the churches fall into a few different areas. One of those is they fall into this topic where you think you need this mega church website and it's so full of all sorts of stuff you can't find the basics. Where are you at? When are your service times? What do you believe? And maybe have a link to somewhere where I can see a little bit about what your service looks like, or a YouTube channel, or a sermon online archive, anything like that. And this is important because as I travel around, I don't often know what types of churches are in town. In fact, very rarely do I know. When I was in the Los Angeles area, I knew I was going to go visit John MacArthur's church because I've listened to John MacArthur for years. So I knew that. I was traveling through Tucson. I had a friend with family in Tucson. They said, hey, this is my family's church. Go check out their church. So those were great times. I didn't need to spend a lot of time in researching what the church was like. Every other place, I got to go online and I have to find the church that's going to work. Now, here's the other problem I have is that I believe that most churches, which are sound churches, are going to be small churches. They're not going to be super affiliated with the world. If that is you, congratulations, you're probably sound, but please make sure I can find you should I come into your town. So I'm going to go into town. I'm going to go to a search engine, not Google, because Google is evil. I'm going to go to like Start Page or DuckDuckGo. I'm going to type in the city and churches. Now, Yelp, and not Yelp, maybe Yellow Pages, and there's some church online directories. All of these, there's all sorts of groups that if you have a church in town and a basic website, they will find you and catalog you so that there's a giant list. I can see a map, and I can see the map where all the churches are, and sometimes I'll find the Mormons, and sometimes I'll find the Jehovah's Witnesses, and sometimes I'll find the latest church growth nonsense, and I'll find the Catholics over here. I'll find, all sorts of stuff, and I'm looking for those churches which are small, which are independent, which probably still carry Bibles into the sanctuary. That's the place I want to go. But as I was looking around in the town where I'm at now, only one church came out as having a really good website. They advertised where they are. They advertised what time their services are at. They had a little bit about what they believe. Unfortunately, they didn't mention how crazy charismatic they were. So I ended up going, and it was a very hilarious service. And I enjoyed the screaming banshee over there. Ah! It was crazy. I had a good time, but I didn't really draw all that close to God. I mean, the music was good, but the screaming banshee over there was howling at the top of her lungs. I couldn't worship. Maybe I should have clicked the link because they actually did have a list of the services. Maybe I should have watched the service. That's on me. All right. But I looked around some other churches in this town, and I cannot find any other church in this town that actually has a website that advertises where the church is and where the service is. There's one church that almost looked promising. Their website, they had a website, and that was worse for them. They should have not had a website. Their website does not list service times. It does not list their address, which is significant because their church moved. I think Google or one of them still lists their church as being in one place. Their actual new building is on the other place. I actually found it when I went to the grocery store. As I passed, oh, that's where they are. That's interesting. And so, and their church was full of a lot of, it was a lot of like, this is what our service is about, but no reference about what time your service is or where your location is. And on top of that, here's the next thing, guys. If you have a website, make sure it's not hacked. That church website is hacked. It will send you all sorts of casinos and online gambling. I'm pretty sure that they are not intentionally linking people to online casinos and gambling. So how did that happen? We'll talk about that a little bit. What type of church website should you have? All right, so if you're doing something yourself, stop doing that and hire a professional. Many church websites now, you're going to be building them out on WordPress. Okay, but make sure it's completely up to date and use as few plugins as you possibly can. Okay, plugins is how the WordPress vulnerabilities come. A few of them come from the core. Usually those are dealt with before they ever become a problem, but people will say, oh, you'll find some guy in the congregation, oh, I can do a website, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they go online, they push the one-click install WordPress, and they're like, oh, let's do this, and throw this in, 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 and you got about 35 plugins in the back end. None of them have been updated in 2 or 3 years. Every single one of them is a backdoor for some hacker, spammer, or whatever else, and then you're throwing this up on your church website. Well, that's not a good solution either. This is why take a little bit of money out of your budget and hire a person who actually knows what they're doing. It's not going to cost you a lot. My personal rates, and you can find something like me, you know, maybe $1,000, maybe $2,000 for a site build, and keep them a retainer with an hour or two a month to keep things up to date, secure, backup, and maybe updating content as needs be. It is not a huge investment for a church to be able to have a good digital assets. Now, social media. This is, I think, where many churches go, and I think it's a big mistake. The reason is the social media that you're pushing to, Instagram and Facebook, and some of you TikTok and YouTube and things like that, these are large tech companies with a final agenda of censoring your speech. Make sure you're not doing that. That is a problematic thing. And so, while those are not bad, because hey, you may as well go where the people are at, you want to make sure that when you are censored, people still know where you are. And that is where your website comes into play. While it is possible for a big tech company to take down your church website, it is a lot harder to take down your website than it is to take down your social media, particularly if you have hired a person that knows what they're doing, because they will have a backup, and if you are censored off of one hosting platform, they can simply roll that back up to the next hosting platform. It does not have to be complicated. So in final summary, churches, particularly you small biblically sound churches that don't want to be part of all the world systems, congratulations, you're probably the ones who are making it the most. But please make sure I can find your church if I visit your town, because I don't know your town. I'm not driving all over the places in your town. I'm going to a specific location based on my GPS. I don't like relying on GPSs, but when I'm in a strange place, there's not a lot of other options without sitting down and studying all of the town maps, and I don't have time to do that for every single town. So when there is a traveling person coming through, when there is a vacationer coming through, you realize most vacationers don't go to church, not because church is inconvenient, but because they just don't know where to go. Make yourself known on the internet. Make yourself known on the internet. Syndicate your sermons as podcasts, very easy to do. Have a website. It doesn't have to be massive #1 on Google. It's just got to be good enough to show up in that listing, so when somebody pulls up a map of the churches, they click it, and then when they do that, go ahead and claim your listing so they can tie in your website. So someone sees a map of your city, they see all the different churches, they can click on their church, boom, website, and if you have your site organized right, those organizations will pull your service times, your address, your website, and your phone number all right into one little profile, so they don't have to go all over the place. Make sure you get your digital assets in line, make sure they're not hacked, make sure they're not garbage assets, and please hire a professional. Don't rely on somebody who just says, oh, I can do that and I can volunteer to do that. You don't want to do that, guys. You want to hire a professional. And there's a mosquito right in front of me, so I'm going to go before he gets me. Get. Oh, there he is. There he is. Are you a tsetse fly? Ha ha! You're dead now. Ha ha! Mosquito guts. All right, guys. Thanks for coming along. Have a look over the website at ourwalkinchrist.com. If you are a church and you would like a website, I will build you a website. Get a hold of me. Just contact me through the website. If you contact me through Our Walk in Christ website, inquiring about a website, I'll give you a church discount. Anyway, with that, guys, thanks for coming along, and I hope that you enjoy your daily walk in our Lord.